welcome to the channel. Today is New Comic Book Day, so happy New Comic Book Day. It is a pretty big one, and I feel like I've been saying that all year, but DC kind of like, they stacked their days. Honestly, today we have Batman #6 from Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez, and then we also have Night Fight #4, Ultimate Endgame #2, Absolute Superman #16, and I think Absolute Green Lantern 11, and there's probably a couple books that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I should definitely have League of Comic Geeks popped up on my phone when I do this. But pretty big day. I think I'm only going to get a few, like, 2 or 3 books, things that I have to read and stuff like that. Because next week is another big week as well, because there's also Bleeding Hearts is coming out, which is Dennis Camp's new Vertigo book, and there's also going to be a signing. So that's all exciting stuff. I'm not going to do much else outside of that because I do have to go to the dentist again, another filling. So going to do that. And then, yeah, not much else outside of the comic shop. We're going to go to Midtown Comics Times Square. Like I said, I am excited about the books that are coming out today because I really want to read them. They're all books that are at the top of my pile whenever they come out. I'm like, I have to read them. So excited about that. Hope you guys are having a really good day. Let me know what you're reading. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and let's head over to Midtown Comics Times Square. Book recommendation of the day is Absolute Green Lantern. So this is a book that I sometimes forget about. But when I read issue 1, it quickly became my favorite Absolute title that is not named Absolute Batman. Honestly, Absolute Batman, when it comes to DC books and comic books in general, I kind of put in a league of its own to not sort of like have unfair comparisons to other books because I am a Batman fan. But Absolute Green Lantern, what it is, like what I really like about the book, honestly, is that I was kind of like completely surprised. It was the absolute book that I was least excited about because Janoi Lindsay, the artist, I was not too familiar with. Also, I was kind of tired of the evil Hal Jordan sort of like trope that has been happening. Like, I kind of done with the whole like parallax thing. It happened, and hey, if we're gonna bring him back, let's not constantly go back to evil Hal Jordan. Now, this is not parallax, but it's still sort of like, hey, he becomes the Black Hand and stuff. But what Al Ewing and Janoi Lindsay have done with this new Green Lantern lore has been so interesting, and each issue I'm constantly sort of intrigued of what's going on. And 10 issues in, with issue 11 coming out today, I still don't really know all that much about what is happening with the Green Lantern, the spectrum of light in this universe, and I love that about it. And also with Joe Mullen, like that's a character that I've always kind of like struggled with because I tried Far Sector and I didn't love it. I think they were a great character, but I didn't love the story, so I've been waiting for something to kind of like, for me to dive in with that character, and I feel like Absolute Green Lantern definitely is sort of like made me sort of like really love the character because I'm getting to see her from the beginning, and this is really cool. And I think what they've been doing with it, it's kind of super underrated. I don't think a lot of people talk about it as much as the other Absolute titles like Absolute Wonder Woman or Absolute Martian Manhunter, but it is definitely sort of like, I feel, one of those things that makes the Absolute Universe so unique because you can take such radical swings with established characters, established lores. And for me, I'm a big fan of Green Lantern. Like when I first got into like getting single issue comics, that was around the time that Green Lantern was coming out with Jeff Johns. You had Blackest Night was like my first comic book event that I was able to buy while it was on the shelves. So I always have a special place in my heart for the Green Lantern Corps. So I love that Absolute Green Lantern has been fantastic. So if you have a chance, Volume 1 is out now. Issue number 11 is coming out today. So check it out. Absolute Green Lantern by Al Ewing and Janoi Lindsay. The best day of the week for comic fans. New Comic Book Day, Wednesday. Midtown Comics Times Square, honestly, absolute best place to be at on New Comic Book Day. No pun intended with the amount of absolute books that are out, but a fun shop to be at on Wednesdays because they literally have every book you could think of and won't think of on Wednesdays, and you never really have to worry about reserving things. Even when they have a hot book, they'll usually have a limit, one per customer at the Times Square location, so you'll always get something if you are a reader. And for me, I really read my books. Yes, occasionally I'll grab something. I think in my life I've sold maybe a few books, so I'm never too crazy about the resale value or
protecting my collection because I'm always like, I'm going to read these books, and I usually throw them in my bag without bags and boards and stuff like that. Don't judge me. But again, huge week. We got DCKO Boss Battle, Batman #6, books that I'm really excited to read, and it was jumping at Midtown Comics. Like, there were times where it was a little not so busy, but then there'd be waves of people coming in. And this week was great because I did get to meet someone at the shop, Alex. He approached me when he saw me filming some things. He's like, hey, do you do content? And then, we exchanged Instagrams, and he was like, oh, like, actually, I've seen your stuff before. So that was a cool moment. And then we got to talking about DC books. They were a huge DC fan, and I really appreciated that. Like, honestly, it's the cool thing about a comic shop. I think I kind of crave that because my first LCS that closed down a couple years ago, I used to have that with Mike, who used to run the shop. And I just miss it. I miss it when I would go on Wednesdays and Mike would be there. So to meet someone cool like Alex was really dope. Let me know what you guys think of the new camera. Like, honestly, it's made my life a lot easier filming these vlogs. Like, it's easier to kind of like put the camera up and film some of the stuff. So I've been really digging it, and it's allowed me to be a little bit more creative. So let me know if you like it or you want me to go back to my phone. But again, overall, dope new comic book day. I think this year is going to be another strong year like last year when it comes to comics, because I feel like every week I'm like, oh, this is the biggest week of the year, and then the next week happens and I'm saying the same thing. So there's just so many great stories out there, and I feel like despite sort of like the conversation always being about manga versus Western comics and stuff like that, I've been enjoying a lot of stuff, whether it be indie, DC, some Marvel, not as much Marvel as I'd like, but a little bit. And it's been exciting as a comic book fan. It's been great to be able to recommend new books. I love comic books.
I'm back, and I got some comics. So pretty good day. It was great to be at the shop. I did meet a dude named Alex, and we got to talk comics. It felt like a really great new comic book day where I got to meet someone new. We followed each other on Instagram, so that was cool, and a really dope moment. And I got a couple books. First is Ultimate Endgame #2. This is obviously the finale and kind of, well, not this issue, but this is sort of like what's wrapping up the Ultimate Universe and what everything has been building towards. To be honest, these first two issues have been really dense, and I feel like a little lost because there's so much information in these last two issues because you're kind of catching up with what the maker's been up to. And he hasn't really been there for 2 years. It's been thousands of years that he's been there in terms of like, because it's time moves differently in that city. And honestly, I am a little bit disappointed, but I think once everything comes together, hopefully it gives me something to hang on to, especially with the Ultimate Universe coming to an end. So Ultimate Endgame #2, solid. Still wish the Ultimate Universe wasn't ending. I was hoping it would end on, with a bang, but so far these first two issues haven't been particularly like amazing. The Ultimates, on the other hand, those issues have been great. The Vision issue was great, the one with the Wasp. So I feel like that book still maintains its quality, whereas Endgame is doing a lot to wrap up a lot of different stories in the Ultimate Universe and is bringing everything together. So I think it has a much bigger task. So I'm hoping once everything kind of like finishes, I'm able to look at the pieces all together and maybe enjoy it a little bit more. Then we have Batman #6 from Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez. Love this book. Read this one on the train. Another banger. We get a tease of the Joker at the end. Tim quits being Robin. We kind of knew that was happening with the variant cover that was teased from Jim Lee. But it's another great issue, another great moment. And I feel like this Batman book, and I was talking about it with Alex, who I met at the comic book shop, is that it feels like this Batman book we're getting a lot more of Bruce, which has been fun. I actually like that because that hasn't been the case in previous Batman runs where everything feels so important that he always has to be Batman, which is cool. I love Batman, but thinking about it, he really isn't Bruce Wayne that much in the last couple runs. So I feel like this has been really refreshing. And then we have DCKO Boss Battle #1. It's a one-shot. I got the Derek Robinson cover, which is Homelander versus Superman, the fight that people have all been waiting for. This has a bunch of different crossovers. You have the Mortal Kombat universe, you have Dynamite coming in. You have IDW with Beneath the Trees. So it's a really cool thing that I feel like, takes advantage of the concept of a tournament, arc in DCKO. I didn't read this one yet, but I'm excited to see who wins, and I think it's going to be Superman. And then DCKO Night Fight number 4. This is the conclusion, I believe. Maybe there's one more, but I feel like this one is covering, the last Robin, which is Damian. And I'm excited. I was going to read this on the train, but based on previews, it seems like a little bit emotional, so I wanted to kind of like be home when I read this. But yeah, that was overall my haul. There's some books that I didn't get today that I'll probably get, soon, which is Absolute Green Lantern number 11, and then Absolute Superman, which has the battle between Absolute Superman and Absolute Hawkman. So have that pile. Still have some books to get. Maybe I get them later in the week. And yeah, overall good day. I had a great time at the comic book shop. With Midtown, they come in, like, the traffic comes in waves. There were times where it wasn't as busy, as I was in the shop. And then, when I was recording, that's when, Alex approached me and we started talking about like all the DC stuff. And funny enough, he's just strictly a DC guy, so we had a lot to talk about. I try to put him on to some like Marvel stuff I'm reading while complaining about Marvel myself. But it's everything New Comic Book Day should be. Meeting people, talking about your passions, talking about the books you love, the stories you love, the characters you love, and like life can be really stressful sometimes, but you have moments like that really kind of like, hey, like that was a really nice moment that, I met someone in person without the internet and all that, and that was cool. Yeah. And I hope you guys had a really good New Comic Book Day. So let me know what you read today. What are some of your favorite stories? Do you feel the same way about Ultimate Endgame? Let me know. But please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you've been liking these videos. Give some feedback. This has been really fun. So appreciate you all, and peace.